My name is Lance Verhoof. I'm the co-founder of Trading Post Brewing. I am born and raised in Calgary, Alberta. Came out to Langley, BC to go to Trinity Western University out of high school. Spent 5 years studying finance at Trinity while playing on the basketball team there. Met and married my wife in 2012, Marissa Ratzlaff, now Verhoof. And we have 2 little boys at home. And we live in Fort Langley, and we absolutely love the lifestyle that we live of being able to run a business, raise a young family, and have a good time while we're doing it. What inspired me to start Trading Post was the fact that Marissa and I were living in Vancouver, and we fell in love with the craft beer scene that was starting to thrive in 2013 and 2014. When we moved back to Langley, we realized that there was really no craft breweries in the area that brought people together. So that was where the inspiration for the business started from, where we could have a place where people could congregate and meet and enjoy their company over a great beer and great food. Creating BC craft beer is my passion because I see beer as a vehicle of bringing people together. So not only is there a lot of art and science that goes into the process of brewing beer, but it also creates an end result that people want to gather around and talk about and share different styles of beer that they've never tried before. So that's why we do things like flights, where people can try a little bit of 4 different beers. And that's why we encourage our staff to get their Cicerone, which is an education on beer and beer style. The type of community that Trading Post wants to bring in is people that want to rebuild friendships, to continue to connect with people, to maybe meet some new people. This was a passion of mine ever since being at Trinity Western, where we would go out to the Fort Langley pub, but that was really the only location to go to in Fort Langley. I wanted to build a place that people felt welcome, people felt accepted, people felt that they could just have a great conversation with their friends that they're coming in with without having the distraction of TVs or really loud music. A place where people could really come and enjoy themselves and have great conversation and build friendships. We have 3 locations at Trading Post. The first that opened is our brewery, and that's the heart of our business. That's where we create the beer. But on top of that, we also have a tasting room there. It's 60 seats. There's upstairs and a downstairs. There's a patio outside, and it's a really great place to actually see and hear and feel where the beer is being made. You can go in there at any given time and talk to our brewers. Tony DeWald is our head brewer, and you can actually see and smell and hear the beer being made, which is a really cool experience. The second location that we opened a few months later is our eatery here in Fort Langley. This is where Trading Post's brand is represented most in the historic town of Fort Langley. And so we have 110 seats in Fort Langley where we bring our own beer, but we also add a lot of food to the mix, and we try to pair our beer with our food. And we're really reliant and promoting on local suppliers to help us bring our food into the craft beer community. The third location we have is in Abbotsford, where we have a 220-seat location with a very similar concept to Fort Langley. The menu is about 95% the same as Fort Langley, where we have local beef for our burgers from 63 Acres, which is our supplier in Chilliwack. We sell a lot of fried chicken sandwiches, and all the chicken breasts come from Rossdown Farms in Abbotsford. And we really support promoting local suppliers. So Abbotsford is our newest location, and that was opened in December of 2018. I think that the thing that makes Trading Post unique is that we are creating an environment that is holistic. So it's from the moment that you walk in the door to the moment that you walk out the door, that we want that experience to be all Trading Post, whether that be the server's knowledge, the beer that we're creating, the food that we're making in the kitchen, and the environment that we set for people walking in. We want that to be as best as possible that people can find in the Lower Mainland. So I think the thing that makes Trading Post unique is is first the people, and then second the ingredients and quality that goes into our product. The success of Trading Post has come in a variety of ways, but it all boils down to people. If we don't have a great team, then we're not going to be growing and thriving and producing an amazing product that I feel very proud of, that we put out day to day. So this key to our success is our people, and we have amazing managers, we have amazing servers, we have amazing chefs and cooks and marketing and operations. All of that stuff, it relates to people, and I'm really proud of our team, and that's the main reason for our success. I think the most special thing for me, other than seeing our team continue to grow, is seeing the thousands of people that come through the door and that we can make their day a little bit brighter, that we can provide a service and a product that people want to come and be part of, and not only within these four walls, but what are we doing outside of our buildings to really impact people?
So my name is Quinn Schneider. I've been in the restaurant industry for 9 years now. Something that was brand new to me, and I was working construction previously, but I jumped in with just as a regular expediter at Cactus Club Cafe. I was there for 4 years, worked my way up to management and helped them open 2 locations. And from there, I moved into the Italian wine industry. I found a passion for wine. And then I opened up 2 locations as general manager, both in Edmonton and in Walnut Grove and Langley here. Had a lot of fun with that. And then actually I came over and switched gears a little bit and came over to the craft brewery industry. So with Trading Post Brewing, just an absolutely fantastic company. Trading Post hosts craft beer culture right off the bat from the hiring process. A lot of people that we bring in already obviously very in tune with craft beer and very passionate about craft beer. And we just kind of kickstart that right from the get-go. So Lance Verhoof leads a brewery orientation or a brewery tour. They get to see the brewing processes, which is really unique. So they go down to our location in Langley, which is awesome. And then from there, we just kind of instill it in everyone that craft beer is our #1 focus. And we were a brewery before we were a restaurant, and I think that's super important. We still obviously, top quality service, food, and everything like that is still our #1 priority. But we really want our beer to shine through. The joy that I get the most from working with customers and being in a customer-facing environment is that not only do you get to hear other people's stories consistently, but also I love creating an experience for the guest and being unique. There's countless amount of times where you can go out to a restaurant and it's going to be mediocre in a sense, whereas we like to go above and beyond for everyone. If there's an opportunity to make someone's day a little bit better, we're going to take advantage of that in any way we can.
Hello and welcome to Trading Post Brewing Company. My name is Tony DeWald. I'm the brewmaster. I'm going to give you a brief explanation of what goes into the brewing process. So first we take malt, which is mostly barley malt, some wheat, sometimes oats. We crush it in our mill, and then it comes into our first container over here, which is called the grist case. From the grist case, it drops into the vessel here called the mash tun. We combine the crushed malt or grist with water at a very specific temperature and a very specific ratio. This gives us a very specific temperature for its resting temperature. The resting temperature decides on the amount of sugar that we're going to create. The malt contains lots of starch and a type of enzyme which breaks starch down into its component sugars. Depending on the exact temperature we do this reaction at, we can achieve a certain balance. So amount of sugars that will turn into alcohol and amount of sugars that will remain in the finished beer as its sweetness, its balance. That process called saccharification takes about 45 minutes. After that point, what we do is we recirculate the sweet liquid, which we now call wort, W-O-R-T. And what we're trying to do is extract the clear liquid and leave all the solids behind. The solids being the cellulose that the malt is made out of, and the husks. So that's what's going on in the process right now. We're drawing the clear liquid off the bottom and pumping it into the second vessel. We don't use the entire volume of water in this first process. We have to sprinkle more on top, hot water, and extract more of the sugars from the mash bed. So we run the kettle up to about 1,800 liters pre-boil, and it's at that point that we add hops. Hops are a flowering vine that grows here in the Pacific Northwest. They're especially grown along the 49th parallel all over the world. There's more than 100 different varieties of hops. They all have certain unique properties to them. And depending on the kind of beer I'm making, I'll select different varieties of hops and use different amounts of them to achieve the flavor profile that I'm looking at for that specific beer. When the liquid in the kettle, the wort, comes up to a full rolling boil, this is when we add these first charge of hops. The first charge of hops is known as bittering hops, because quite literally all the flavor is being boiled off, and it's just the bitterness contained in the hops as alpha acid is left behind. So we boil for about 90 minutes. We boil for three main reasons. The first is to get these hops isomerized, and so by vigorously boiling, we bring this alpha acid into solution. Two is to sterilize the liquid. By boiling, we sterilize things. And then three is to break a certain amount of protein out of solution. All malt beer, like most craft beer is made out of, will contain a lot of excess protein. So although protein is what gives beer its head, too much protein and the brewery turns into a big foamy mess. So we want to have the right kinds of protein involved. So at the end of the 90 minutes, we add a second charge of hops, and these are called aroma hops. And quite literally, they add hop flavor and aroma to the beer. And again, depending on the style of beer we're making, we'll choose or select different varieties of hops and use them in differing amounts to achieve the flavor profile that we're looking for. So at the end of that time, we'll set the kettle up as a whirlpool. In simple terms, by stirring it, you're piling the liquid on the outsides, and the height of the column in the very center is the least. So anything with mass wants to go to the area of the least amount of pressure, and it will all form in the very middle. Same thing with the hops and the protein that we break out of solution here. Once we set the kettle up, in about 15 minutes of pumping it to create this effect of stirring, all the hop matter and the protein matter goes to the very middle. We turn the pump off and gravity takes over and deposits a perfect cone in the middle of the kettle floor. So at the end of that resting time, what we'll do is pass the wort through a heat exchanger where the hot wort goes through one side and the cold water goes through the other, and we can effect an instantaneous heat transfer from 100 degrees Celsius down to about 10 degrees Celsius. The wort then travels further along to one of the first 5 vessels in the brewery, and these are called the primary fermentation vessels. It's at this point that we add the yeast. The yeast is the living magic ingredient. A lot of people think that I, as the brewmaster, make the beer, and in fact, I don't. What I do is make food for yeast. The yeast biotransforms that liquid into the beer that we all love. At the end of the primary fermentation, we can adjust the temperature, and what we'll do is bring the temperature down to 0 or even -1. And it's during this period of secondary aging or cold maturation that the flavors really come together. And so the toughest part of my job is every day when I get here in the morning, I have to sample each and every tank. And when I believe that the flavors are at their peak of ripeness, what we'll do is transfer that beer into the bright tanks, they're called, and it's at this point that we add a little bit of finings. They work by electromagnetic attraction. They have a very positive charge. The yeast has a very negative charge. They find each other and make a heavier molecule that gravity has a quicker effect on. And then the beer gets carbonated and then either kegged or put into cans for us all to enjoy. My name is Tony DeWald. I'm the brewmaster here at Trading Post Brewing, and I have been since we first opened in 2016. I was actually here in 2015 setting up the brewery that's behind me here in the camera shot. And we've done well over 700 brews here now. And we feel confident we'll hit 1,000 brews by end of next year. So lots of happiness to spread. My background, I've been a Canadian craft brewer since 1990. So that's just over 30 years. In my 20s, which coincided with the 1980s, I played in a punk rock band, and I got to travel throughout Canada, the United States, and Europe. So the band was winding up. I had a friend in Toronto who said, hey man, why don't you move to Toronto and I'll show you how to make beer. And I thought that sounded interesting and exotic. So I moved from Montreal, where I grew up, and the band was based out of, to Toronto. And I apprenticed with him for about 7 years. I wrote my master brewer papers at that point, and I've been making beer ever since. At the heart of every brewery is somebody like me who can't help himself. He thinks about beer, he dreams about beer, he wakes up in the morning with a different beer idea, and then wants to, find the circumstance so he can make that beer and put it into a glass and actually drink it after work. The most joy I have in brewing beer, and I get to do this every week, so usually 2 or 3 times a week. I come in the morning and I start the process, and the crushed malt called grist, combines with the water, and it releases this aroma. And every morning I'm in the brewery when this is available, I put my nose over the mash tun and I smell that aroma, and I'm reminded of the original joy I had the first time I was allowed to make beer. And it really fills my heart, my whole being with the happiness of being able to do what I love, make a nice little living from it, and live in a small town that's away from the city, and practice my profession and live a wonderful life.